The U.S. government just surpassed $1 trillion of interest payments. We're going bankrupt. Hold on tight. Tighten up, tighten up. Watch this, my friends. So first of all, we're going to show you from the Fed data. Right here, this red line is the amount of interest we paid on our debt. $1 trillion in Q4 2023. A trillion schmackaroonies. Oh my goodness, that is just, we're all gonna, it's over. It's over. And here's the Fed funds rate. Look at that right there. So the Fed funds rate is, hold on a second. Pause it real. There we go. So here, can I show right there? Fed funds rate 5.02 at the end of 2023. I think it's about 5.25 right now, roughly. So the interest, there's a reason I'm showing this to you. The interest is $1 trillion. The Fed funds rate is at 5, which is the highest it's been since right there 2006, which was the highest it's been since 1999. Then we have the Fed funds rate way up here. So what does it mean when a high Fed funds rate? Anyone want to take a guess? Why would the Fed funds rate have anything to do with the amount of interest we pay? Because this doesn't look like it does, and I'll share with you why that's not right here in just a second. This makes it look like they're not correlated. They're 100% correlated. The higher the Fed funds rate, the more the federal government interest payments. Why would that be? Oh, well, let's just look at what the CBO says, shall we? Let's look at the Congressional Budget Office here. Net interest in the federal budget. The federal government pays and collects interest in various ways. Its net outlays for interest equal the interest it pays minus the interest it receives. So we just showed you the net outlays for interest is $1 trillion. They're paying a lot more interest than they're receiving. Those net outlays primarily comprise the interest paid to holders of the debt that the Department of Treasury issues to the public. Did you hear that? The net outlays primarily comprise the interest paid to holders of the debt that the Federal Department of Treasury issues to the public. And it's based on the Fed funds rate. So, who is getting the interest off that debt? The Fed is losing $1 trillion to interest. Who's on the other side of that? Who's getting the interest? The holders of the debt. Who are the holders of the debt? China isn't the big holder of the debt. They have less than $1 trillion of a $35 trillion in debt. Oh, Pablo wants to go outside. Hold on a second. The last I saw, China had like $787 billion of federal debt of a $35 trillion outstanding debt. Japan had about $1.25 trillion. So between China and Japan, that's $2 trillion of a $35 trillion debt. So who owns the debt? Oh, the good old American people and their certificates of deposit. Oh, certificates of deposit they're not, they're not government guaranteed. They're not T-bills. What do you think the bank does with the money? The bank takes and buys CDs. Your money market accounts, those are government bonds, government T-bills. Mostly T-bills, frankly. So when the government is paying the debt, they're paying it to who? To you. So this is exactly the case I was saying in the video yesterday. They're losing, you are winning. Would you want the other way? Like when it was back here at 1%, where you weren't getting any interest for a decade on your money? You are the one receiving this interest. Yeah, some of the countries are, some of the countries are hostile towards us, but not nearly what I don't understand this. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, man, I love these high CD rates, high money market rates, but the federal government debt is too high. You're getting it. The Social Security Administration is getting it. This high interest helps all these things with solvency. I mean, this is just a fact. Now you can make an argument, well, they can't go on forever. Okay. Well, then give back your interest payment, man. It's kind of like these freaking rich guys. They need to raise my taxes. Like there's nothing stopping you from voluntarily paying more taxes, Warren Buffett. By all means, pay more taxes. There's nothing that says you can't issue more debt to more taxes to the Treasury, but they never do. And you never will either, because you're like, I'd love to get this interest. This is what I'm talking about. The government creates debt, and you receive the benefit of it. It's literally, I don't have my chalkboard here, but it's right on the back of a piece of paper on my life insurance payment. So as the federal government's cash flows decline, all right, which is what's happening, federal government cash flows decline, that's going down, your cash flows are going up. It's literally just that simple. Federal government issues debt, you hold the debt, you bought the bonds. Now, the right argument to make is rightly so. At some point, people won't buy those bonds anymore. Okay, when? Well, we've only been hearing the same argument for freaking decades upon decades. And that's why I say on these people comment, like, oh man, they'll never pay off the debt. Well, you're never going to get paid off, first of all. You're never going to pay it off. They're never going to pay $35 trillion of debt. So stop with that. When are they going to stop? When are you going to not buy the federal government debt? When? The only time is during wars. Don't go to war, you're fine. It's just that simple. This is why the whole thing with Ukraine, Israel, now they want to go South Korea, Taiwan, the whole thing is just horrible. I don't want any debt going to these people. None. That's all money going to Ukraine. They're not even, it's the whole thing is just such a freaking clown show. All these politicians suck. I would still, and people think, oh, so you want government spending? No, I don't want government spending. More government spending 100% means the less freedom. That's just a fact. I want to reduce the government, absolutely. But stop the silliness that the federal interest is going to bankrupt us when you're receiving the benefit of that. You are. You're getting that in spades right now for the first time in a decade. So let's look at this one here. I want to, but Josh, look at the high Fed funds rate here is 16%. And the interest was so low. Well, let's do what we always got to do. We always got to log this stuff. Hey, the baby. What you got? What you got, big boy? So we're going to log the left scale. That should be what we want to do. Yeah, right there. So as you see here, this red is a log. The log simply means it makes everything even. So 40 to 80 is the same in terms of like an inch as 80 to 160. All right, so that's what we're doing. It's the same percentages as opposed to dollar amounts. And what you see here is you have this right here, 1982, and you'll see the interest is just going through the roof at that stage. It kind of leveled off here. All right, why did it level off? Well, because the Fed funds rate was going down. You weren't getting much money on your CDs and all that stuff, right? I mean, a little bit, don't get me wrong. I'm not denying that you're making some money. But this is the first time in a decade we've actually made any money. So here's a federal interest right here. You can see it's kind of leveling off there. You weren't getting that much money. Fed funds rate is going down. And it jumped up here when the Fed funds rate went up. I mean, that's all there is to it, man. So this is a log scale. I just can't stress enough what a log scale means. It simply means the increase as a percentage, not the actual dollar amount, because the dollar amount is going to look a lot different if we don't log it. The dollar amount makes it look like, look at that, it just jumped up like that. Yeah, but not as a percentage. The percentage is what matters. So anyway, the point being is right here, you were getting more on your money. That's just a fact. I've had millions of clients say, I had CDs paying 18%. At the same time, I had people say, I had mortgages paying 16%. Well, if you don't like CDs paying 18%, you don't want high interest rates. That's just a fact. If you don't like mortgages paying 16%, you don't want high interest rates. If you like high CDs and low mortgages, you can't. It's inherently impossible to get that. It's just not going to happen. So anyway, look out for all these people saying, oh, it's all falling apart because of the debt when you're the recipient of those benefits. It's just a fact, man. And so you always send it back in and say, government, I don't want your interest payments. You take it back. All right. Love your thoughts. God bless.